It's funny to see how the number, the reason number one that explains why you are stuck in watercolor, it has nothing to do with painting techniques. And oftentimes, from experience, now it's been something like 4 years, 4 years and a half since I've been teaching watercolor. I realized that 80-90% of the time, it has nothing to do with painting techniques. 1 hour ago, I ended a one-on-one coaching with one of my students, and she told me that she wanted to create some kind of a sketchbook because in 1 month she's going to travel to a foreign country, and she would really like to sit down outside and start painting in a loose way, very fluently and freely. She wants to feel free to paint whatever she wants. And actually, it's been quite a few attempts because she's been traveling a lot for the past few years, and each and every time she had this project in mind of creating some sketchbook based on her travels, and she's never done that. Never. And thing is that when I asked her about what she thinks prevents her from creating those sketchbooks, she thought that we would walk around the techniques, because she told me that, yeah, one time she was at a Venice workshop, a watercolor workshop. It was with an artist, and she was above the Place Saint-Marc, what we call the Place Saint-Marc in French. It's where you have the big building of Venice with a dome, and she tried to paint the beautiful view that she had, and when she was finished, she realized that what was on the paper wasn't exactly what she had in mind, and she felt some kind of shame. She was ashamed of the work that she produced, and she was also ashamed of showing her work to the other member of the workshop. And she thought that she had an issue simplifying the view because she got bogged down into the details of, okay, the people, the boats, the view, the sea, and so on. And she thought that we would work on how to craft a nice perspective, how to simplify a big city into something that is beautiful and that convey emotion. And actually, we didn't go this way at all. We didn't at all. And what we ended up talking about, it was around the shame she felt. And when I asked her why did she feel that, and what she's getting from feeling ashamed, she told me that, oh, by doing that she could get some attention because one of the women in the workshop, she started to show her, okay, here is what you can see in Venice, here is what you can visit, and she started making connection with this woman. And had she not felt ashamed of showing her work, and yeah, showing people that she was not at ease with what she painted, people wouldn't have connected with her to the point where she could really make some friendship with people. And for me, from this moment, I asked her, okay, when did you feel that you lacked some attention from people? And we ended up talking about her mother. We ended up talking about her brothers, because she's the only girl in the family. She only had brothers. And thing is that at the end of the one-on-one coaching, she realized that it has nothing to do with painting techniques. It has everything to do with her mindset, how she saw herself, how she felt ashamed towards people that she put on some kind of a pedestal because she thought that they were able to do things that she wasn't able to do. They were able to put on the paper what those people had in mind, and she wasn't able to do that because she didn't have the skill. So she thought that it was a skill issue, whereas it was more a mindset issue. And for me, this is the reason number one why you are stuck in watercolor 80-90% of the time. And painting techniques, really, maybe it's 10-20%. And we think that, wow, this is huge, the day that I will be able to paint perspective perfectly, I will be able to make pigment fuse perfectly, I will be able to be proud of my paintings. But that's not the case, because the day you have the skill, and actually this student, she's been my student for 1.5 years now, and she's actually painting really well, and she was able to make a mountain landscapes. Wow, it's like a photo. it's so beautiful. And but she cannot help but feeling like an imposter or feeling ashamed of what she produced, what she paints. And I told her that whatever the technical skill level you're at, whatever your technical skill level, you will never feel proud unless you address this issue, this shame that you feel, unless you address your relationship with your brother, your relationship with your mother, unless you reconcile everything within you. And it comes down to the 3 pillars of your art. Yes, there is painting techniques, but there is also creativity. Painting techniques is how you do things. How you do things, actually, it's not the biggest issue. And it's probably the easiest thing you can learn. Then there is creativity. This is the second part, the second factor. Creativity, it's not about how you do things. It's about what you decide to do, what you decide to remove, what you decide to keep in a reference model. And the third point, the third pillar, it's the biggest one, it's mindset. And this is the reason number one why you're stuck in watercolor. So if you find yourself ill at ease when you want to paint outside, it's because you are expecting something from outside, whereas the real value, the real issue is that you cannot produce on demand some kind of attention, some kind of validation. It has to be internal. Otherwise, you will always be dependent on something, some external factor that needs to happen in order for you to feel all right. But the reality is that you don't control anything that is happening outside, but you have the power within you. And this is exactly what we've been working on with this student for 1.5 hours. And at the end of the session, she was like, wow, I expected that we would work on things like we would practice techniques, perspective, and so on, because I thought that this was the real deal. But actually, it's a real deal. It's everything that is stuck into our own mind, that is stuck into our own heart. What we feel is much more important than what we think the issue is. So I invite you to really look at the root cause of why you are stuck in watercolor and think deeply. If it weren't about the painting techniques, what would be the reason number one why you're stuck in watercolor? Why you think you're stuck in watercolor? So I hope that this video was helpful, and see you next time.